Welcome to Wood-Fired Oven How-To, where we explain our process for cooking our favorite recipes in our wood-fired oven. Today we're making a dish that looks really pretty, it's a lot of fun to make, and it tastes pretty good too. Ratatouille, or as it's also known, Confit Byaldi. Ratatouille is basically just some veggies stewed together with a little bit of seasoning, so using good quality ingredients here is really important. The sauce for this contains red bell peppers, an onion, garlic, tomatoes, fresh thyme, bay leaves, dried rosemary, dried parsley, and of course olive oil. And then the main part of the dish contains slices of zucchini, yellow squash, roma tomatoes, and eggplant. We'll fire up the oven to fully heat it up, and then we'll use the oven at a couple different stages today to make everything we need. First thing we'll be doing is roasting the peppers over the hot coals, so we light a fire in the oven and let it burn for about an hour and a half until we get some coals out of it. So while we wait for that, we can head back inside to prepare the peppers. These are pretty easy to prepare, just cut them in half, remove the stem and seeds, and that's it. We have 6 peppers here, which is going to make a lot of sauce, so we're definitely going to have some leftovers. After about an hour and a half, the dome is completely white, meaning the oven is fully heated, but the logs haven't turned to coals yet, so we've got some time to relax. Once we get those coals, we'll spread them out along the floor of the oven and place the grill in there to heat it up. After about 10 minutes, we can place the peppers on the grill and then put them in the oven to get them roasted. After about 5 minutes, we'll rotate the grill to roast the peppers a little more evenly. This is the best way I found to rotate the grill. We just take the grill completely out of the oven, we rotate it, and then we put it back in. It's so much easier than trying to rotate it in the doorway. After another 5 minutes, once the skins are nice and blackened, we can take them out, bring them inside, and let them cool down. We then need to peel the peppers, which is honestly really annoying, and it's easily the worst part of this entire recipe. It takes forever, so grab a friend, put on a podcast or something, and get to work. And you don't have to get all the skin off, mostly just the black bits. Once that's done, we chop up the peppers and we set them aside. Now we can make the roasted red pepper sauce. This can be done on a normal stovetop easy enough, but we're going to use the oven obviously because we can. In the pan here I've got an onion with about 4 cloves of garlic and some olive oil. We throw the pan into the oven and we let that cook for like 10 minutes. After that we throw in a 28-ounce can of San Marzano tomatoes. These are the same tomatoes I use for my pizza sauce recipe. And then I got about 6 sprigs of fresh thyme, 2 bay leaves, about a teaspoon of dried rosemary, and some salt. Throw it in the oven and we let it stew for about 20 minutes. I like to break up the tomatoes here a little bit just to get rid of some of those larger chunks. At this point, the sauce is basically done once we add the peppers back in. I put the pot back in the oven for a couple minutes while I clean up just to let the flavors mingle a bit. Most people blend the sauce at this point to get it really smooth, but I actually like the sauce to have some texture to it, and it's just easier not to blend it, so I just leave it like this. And now, we need to wait for the oven to cool down a bit so we actually have some extra time to kill. I cleaned out the oven and threw some baguettes in there to eat with the ratatouille later. I'm not the best at making baguettes, so they aren't the prettiest, but they are pretty tasty. And now the real fun can start. We need to slice all these veggies. We use our mandoline for this. If you ever use one of these, please protect your fingers. This can take some time, but it's a lot of fun, and it always seems to make so many more veggie slices than you'd expect, so we have a ton of these left over. Slicing the tomatoes can be kind of annoying. It ends up just like smashing half of each tomato, but you do get plenty of good slices to work with eventually. Once the slicing is done, we have this beautiful display of veggie chips. Take a quick break, get a snack, and then we can start assembling the ratatouille. We have this really cool terracotta Dutch oven that I bought myself for my birthday last year that we're going to use for this. In the bottom of the pot, we add a good layer of the roasted pepper sauce. This stuff is pretty good, so I add a pretty good layer of sauce here. After the sauce, we can start assembling the main attraction. Grab a slice of each veggie and place it on its side in the pot. And of course my camera ran out of memory here, so we don't get to see too much of this, but we just continue doing that all the way around and then move on to doing the same thing for the inner layer. The eggplant slices can be quite a bit larger than the other veggies, so for those, cutting them into quarters works pretty well. Keep adding veggies until you fill the entire pot and then touch it up a bit to make it look perfect, and we're almost ready to throw this in the oven. The last thing we need to do is top the dish with some minced garlic, fresh thyme, dried rosemary, dried parsley, and olive oil. We can now finally put this in the oven. The oven is somewhere between 350 and 400 degrees here. I put the coals back in the oven after cooking the baguettes, which wasn't really necessary, but that means we need to clean off the floor a little bit to make room for the pot, and then we want to start to very slowly put the pot in the oven a little bit at a time. Since this is a terracotta pot, if it heats up too quickly, it can actually crack and break, so it's better to be too careful with this than rush it into the oven and risk breaking it. After about 10 minutes or so of that, we push the pot all the way into the oven, close the door, and we let it cook in there for about 45 minutes. "45 minutes later, it's now very dark outside, but the ratatouille is finally ready to eat. I have one of the baguettes here wrapped in aluminum foil so we can warm it up in the oven while we take the ratatouille inside. This makes a great date night meal. It's a lot of fun to make and it looks incredible. There is a lot of time involved in making this, but it isn't actually all that difficult. You do need something to go with it though. It really isn't enough to be a meal all on its own, so it's great to have some really good crusty bread with it at least, like a baguette or something. But all in all, it's definitely worth making every once in a while. So put on some nice music, pour some wine, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.